Welcome to the Around the Corner block of the month from Wagon Quilt Company. This is a block from Wendy Williams, Around the Corner, and this is block number 6, the flying geese in your pattern. And this month we'll be doing the flying geese. And this is really a fun one. I found that it was really fun and worked up really quickly. What you'll end up making is units that look like this with flying geese. And this method that she has in the pattern teaches you a great method for doing flying geese. If you have another method that you enjoy making flying geese, that's just fine if you want to use it. But this one is fairly accurate and works up quickly. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Today, you'll be making units that look like this, and you'll make 7 of this size right here. And then you will also make 6 units of this size right here that are just a little bit smaller. This will create one of the borders on your quilt. And I love the bright colors. These colors that I'm using may be slightly different from the ones that you have in your kit, just because I pulled them from my own stash at my home. What you're first going to do is cut out according to the directions, and you'll make 6 blocks like this, and the coordinating size for the small one. The big piece, I won't tell you all the measurements because you have them in your pattern, but you'll make these for the small ones, and then you'll make 7 in the bright sizes of the larger block. So you're just going to start out with the squares here, and most of the ones I'm demonstrating on today are the large ones, just so you can see it just a little bit better. So I have right here a red block, and I'm going to put one of the white ones right sides together with the fabric. And this may be a different fabric too than you're using, this white one. So I put right sides together, one of the white blocks in the corner, just like this. And then I'm going to take a second one and put it on the opposite corner of this block, of this square, and get them nice and accurate on there. And so it will look like this. They will overlap right in the middle right here. Then I can put it down on my mat, make sure it's nice and straight. And I like to use a friction pen. A friction pen will erase in heat. So once you iron it, it will just go away. And so it's a nice one to use for this purpose. I like using a little bit shorter ruler when I'm doing something like this, so I don't have the cumbersomeness of that big long one. And I'm going to take my pen and my ruler and going from one corner to the next, right across that white fabric, I'm going to make a line with my friction pen. So you might see it right there, going from corner to corner with my friction pen. And then I'll take this, and with my sewing machine, I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of that line. One thing I find is that I like to make it just a scant 1/4 inch because it just gives me a tiny bit more room to square up my blocks when I'm finished. And I don't want them to be too small when I want to square them up. So I've sewn 1/4 inch on one side, as you can see here. And then I'm going to turn it around and sew 1/4 inch from that line on the other side. And I'm not used to this machine. I need mine from my house. When I get done, I'll have the line drawn in the middle and then 2 sewn lines 1/4 of an inch from that middle line. And then I can just take my rotary cutter and I'm going to cut on the drawn line, the line that I drew with my friction pen. So this looks like kind of a strange unit here, but it works. After I cut it, I have the back piece, the bright color, and then these 2 little pieces right here. And I don't have an iron right here, so I'm just gonna finger press them. So I'll end up with a piece that looks like this, actually 2 of them. So with those 2, like this is a smaller size. After I press this, and I would use a press, use a nice press and make it nice and flat. Then I'm going to take 1 more of these squares that I've cut for this size block and put it in this corner right here. It will hang over in the middle, over the edge right here. And with my friction pen, I'm going to draw a line from corner to corner, like this. And then on my sewing machine, I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch on either side of that drawn line. You can see that these are going to work up pretty fast. They don't take a lot of time. Okay. And then I'm going to cut again on that drawn line. Press this again, but since I don't have my iron right here, I'm just going to finger press. So from that 1 block, I'll end up with 4 flying geese. There's my 2 from half of the block. What you're going to want to do after you get to this point is make sure you trim them up or square them up so you have an accurate size. They'll always be just a little bit off and not exactly the right size. Make sure you have your 1/4 inch seam allowance up here at the top so you're not going to clip off your points when you sew. And there are tools, lock, or whatever it's called, that you can use to square these up, and they're even more accurate. But I usually just use my ruler and the mat. This one's going to square up to 1, 2, 3.5. By 6.5. And if you get them all squared up correctly, then they're much easier to sew together. So I've squared it up, have little tiny pieces left over, so I have a nice rectangular block here. And then what I'll do is sew 4 of these together after I have them all squared up. So you'll end up with 7 units that look like this and 6 units that look like this, and each one of these will be a different color. Now these little ones, these smaller ones, you are going to add a little piece, because these, when we start putting them together, the smaller one's not going to be big enough. So on some of them, she has you put an extra little strip on the right side, and sometimes she has you put it on the left side. And then it gives you more of a wave on that border when you put them all together. So you can see right here that the flying geese kind of wave just a little bit, gives you a really fun effect. So with these smaller ones, sometimes you're adding, just follow your pattern, you're adding them to the top or you're adding them to the bottom. And then 2 sides, she gives you instructions of how to put them together. And I would just make sure that you don't all have all one color in one place, just kind of arrange them so they look beautiful for you. This is really a fun and easy block, so hopefully you'll be able to catch up on some of the other ones that maybe you're not finished with. Next month we'll be doing the ribbon, and that's also a really fun one. I'm sorry that we're just a little bit late this month, but I got sick, had to get a COVID test and everything, so, and it was negative, so that was lucky. If you have any questions about doing this flying geese block, I would be more than happy to help you out. And we will plan on seeing you next time for the ribbon border. Thanks so much for joining us.